Hey there, welcome to episode 167 of the Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program. I'm your host, Managing Director of the Innovate for Vegas Foundation, Dan Hugo. We are recording this at 10:01 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time here in the Greater Vegas area on Tuesday, April 28, 2026. We normally publish new episodes of the Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program on Tuesdays, often in the morning, but maybe midday. Today's episode is rather important. The title and topic, Join the Production. If you look at the cover art, it is two directors' chairs that say your name here on the back, placed unrealistically on the Las Vegas Strip, on an unrealistic image of the Las Vegas Strip. Thank you, generative AI. That's why I only use generative AI to make cover art. That's my preference. The topic is about our board of directors having a couple of empty seats and the end of our fiscal year fast approaching, which is when we file our annual list, which is, among other things, for notifying the state who our governance is, who's running this thing. So, but we'll get to that. If you are not familiar with the Innovate for Vegas Foundation, we are a Nevada nonprofit corporation formed in June 16th, 2022. We are a reboot of the original Code for Vegas, which was a part of Code for America. But we are a standalone Nevada nonprofit corporation. We received our 501c3 public charity determination from the IRS later in 2022. So that's retroactive to June. So we are a Nevada nonprofit public charity 501c3 designation, and we are in good standing. You can check us out online and so on. I need to make that link more obvious on our websites, but which we are in the process of getting a few more pieces of information published so that people who consider or want to consider joining our board of directors can access that stuff freely and easily. But all of our state and IRS related tax exempt organization information is visible online. So if you're curious, you can search for us in the usual places. Hopefully wherever by the way, we're an all volunteer organization. That'll come up. So today's episode is really going to go more into the details of the things I just described for people who might be considering or at least curious about our organization and possibly joining our board of directors to help guide us into the innovative future of Greater Vegas and beyond. So, all that said, hopefully wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the episode description, which contains the show notes, including a brief summary, which I'll read to you, and our two normal channel links. These are the same two links all the time, no specific links. For today, the information about all of our initiatives and our current board member, who is otherwise engaged at the moment producing an audio podcast. Hey, that's me. But eventually when we have more board members, again, we have had more board members in the past. We'll have information about our board and our governance in general and the state of affairs of our nonprofit corporation on the foundation website, which is in the link. So we'll get to that in a moment. In the meantime, let us begin with the summary, which I'll read to you. Our fiscal year of Civic Volunteer Winter is coming to an end on 30 June 2026. It comes to an end on the end of June, no matter what. And our empty director chairs have cooled off just in time for those considering joining our board. That might be you. What are we up to for you to consider? Though this episode may be slightly long, by the way, so 2x it. Perhaps two times speed, perhaps or do recall one of the reasons that I publish all of my own productions and this production on YouTube is that they do transcribe for free, which fits into our budget. They provide a text transcription of audio programs. So if you need to read, you probably aren't hearing me say this perhaps, but be aware that we do have that transcribed audio program content available for all. We do aim to be accessible. That's one of the facets of our organization's pursuits. I actually don't mention that in this in everything I wrote. So let me say that we don't have a DEI program per se, but we do pursue inclusivity of all interests, diversity of backgrounds and ideas, and we do focus on accessibility rather than equity, because we don't really have the budget for equity. But by focusing not on, our views on those things are generally more broad and probably, I hope, less controversial if there is controversy. So really it's about people who want to innovate and aim towards our purpose statement, which I will describe to you in a moment. Those people are invited to participate, with the caveat that as we exit the Civic Volunteer Winter, we really need people who are experienced to kind of get the ball re-rolling. It's extremely difficult and expensive in time and effort to engage with very few or one person, with anyone attempting to become involved in some way who's not truly interested or sort of capable. Like, we're not a school, we're not a coding class, we don't have the resources nor the personnel to engage in that type of education or onboarding, and all these things are difficult when there's only one or a very small number of people. So as we get moving, some people who kind of have a skill set or some proactive interest, maybe some self-starters, that's where we're focusing. But in general, once we kind of get some momentum again, we do aim to open the floodgates, if you will, to more people. So it's really just a matter of balancing volunteer time, effort, and expertise, and how we can share that with people who are just getting started. The future of a place that calls itself an innovation hub is found in the population of people who are innovative or who want to be. And so that is a non-trivial element. So, and then accessibility, we are a place with 38 to 41 million-ish people visiting each year. That's a huge population. Some fraction of that population, it's a huge population change. Clark County, where Greater Vegas is, has a population of 2.4 million. So that's a lot of people visiting. It's a huge opportunity to engage people with different needs and requirements and desires as far as getting around and consuming content, maybe a podcast audio program with a transcript. So that is always front of mind. And by the way, it does figure in substantially to our Smarter Smart City Challenge, but that will be for future episodes to dive into a little bit more. All that said, the links for today's episode, the Innovate for Vegas activity website, that's our main, and that's sort of our original. The original was codeforvegas.org. I think we still have some remnants of that GitHub organization. The codeforvegas.org domain we still own, etc. But we legally renamed it was several months later. It was, I think, officially for 2023. We have that written down in our history document, which we need to publish in a more accessible way. But we renamed from Code for Vegas to Innovate for Vegas because innovation is more broad and more inclusive. So remember, we want to include people with ideas and a desire to participate, and diversity will come in the ages and backgrounds and particular interest areas and so on. So there you go. The innovateforvegas.org homepage contains information about participants and the initiatives we're pursuing and so on. Initiatives are made up of component projects. So that's just a terminology question. So initiatives are multiple projects. A project is sort of a standalone piece of work. It could be code, it could be documentation, it could be a marketing plan, it could be a QA test plan, it could be a co-creation plan, it could be all sorts of things. So this is where we're not focusing on code and tech so much. And then the Innovate for Vegas Foundation website, innovateforvegas.foundation. And by the way, Innovate for FOR, Innovate for Vegas in both cases, no spaces, unintentional rhyming. Innovateforvegas.foundation is our Nevada Nonprofit Corporation website. Two sides of the same coin. So you go there if you want to learn more about our board of directors and our bylaws and so on. Some of that stuff is published in our our Google Workspace, which is our official document store. So we need to publish some of that stuff. Why is one person not accomplishing 100% of things in 0 time? We can talk about that later. Yes, I've gotten that sometimes. Well, how come this isn't done? Like, well, because there's one person. And yeah, so here we go again. This is like, we had this conversation last year. Our fiscal year is coming to an end, as I mentioned. And coincident with this is our need to file our annual list with the Nevada Secretary of State regarding our Nevada Nonprofit Corporation. This is where we provide the list of people who are responsible for our nonprofit, our directors on our board. For examples, presently we have a single board member, which is far from ideal. Actually, to be honest, the IRS really likes to see at least 3 board members, so that's where I'm getting that base number. And they really want them to be unrelated, so no board members made up of family, etc. You can have family members on board, but you really need to have a majority who are not related. That is actually written down somewhere, and I would have to do a little searching to get a link to that. But so our motivation is to have at least 3 board members unrelated, and I would very much like to see about 5, with 3 of us here in the Greater Vegas area. That's where I'm located, of course. By the way, residence within Nevada is not a legal requirement. In fact, you don't even have to be a U.S. citizen to sit on the board of a charity. Although, fun fact, if you are not a U.S. citizen and you are sitting on the board of a U.S. charity, for example, you cannot be paid, but that's fine because we're all volunteer anyway. But unfortunately, there is a minimum age due to the legal nature of a director role. So you're 18 plus. That's one, and I think that might be the only area where 18 plus is a requirement for our organization. More might be interesting, more than 5, but we are still an organization in development in the midst of the Civic Volunteer Winter, hopefully coming to an end soon. So 5 seems like a lofty enough goal, but 3 is the minimum, so we need 2 more people. Over the current 2025-2026 fiscal year, about to come to an end in end of June, with the lone board member, me, at the helm, we have essentially been in a low power state. We did not pursue fundraising through the year at all. We didn't receive any donations, so that's kind of goes along with the outreach or lack of. And we did not apply the brakes to the we did apply the brakes to the Smarter Smart City Challenge to defer it into January of 2027. So it's a lot to do for one person, even though I think we probably could have accomplished something interesting. It turns out the outreach runway in the Greater Vegas area when it comes to something like this is much longer than I was hoping. It's not something I'm surprised at, but it is something that we need to account for. So we can spend 2026 developing the entire program, some outreach to potential donors and sponsors, and some infrastructure that we need, and so on. I'm having a little coffee this morning. Participation from our school district, for example, so we can get students involved, things like this. It takes more time. Probably the summer will be an interesting time to reach out to educators more. We'll see. Yeah, 3 is the minimum. So over this year, we did not pursue the funding. We've deferred our challenge. It turns out outreach via LinkedIn it's been rather dismal, to be honest, with mostly follow and forget on our LinkedIn company page. We're up over 950 followers, yet we get almost 0 engagement. Similar situation for the Smart City Vegas page. I think we're at a little over 170 followers, 0 engagement. So LinkedIn is proving itself over and over to be a place for commercial pursuits, perhaps. Maybe we need 10,000 followers to get anywhere. Not sure. But more direct engagement would be nice here in Greater Vegas and beyond, not through LinkedIn. That's one of our initiative focus areas, by the way. We do have our weekly office hours that have been going on for years. They get canceled when nobody shows up. So they've been canceled every week over recent months due to lack of participation. We initially had no RSVP. You could just show up, and we published our Jitsi Meet link, and we had, every once in a while we'd have 1 or maybe as many as 2 people chime in on, what is this? What's going on? The office hours are not a board meeting. They are not a company meeting. They are not a business meeting. They're literally an opportunity to engage near and far to answer questions. What are we doing? How can I participate? And so on. Hey, I'm thinking about starting something similar in another location, somewhere else in or out of the United States. So what are you guys doing? And I've actually attended meetings of other similar organizations, Open Austin, SF Tech, where else? There were a couple more. Open Sacramento. There was another one. And Civic Hacking had one, 2, 3 meetings that I attended. So it's a way to engage with other people outside of a project context. So the meeting is not about, okay, today we're going to work on this, or hey, team meeting, none of that. Literally anything else goes. But participation has been very thin. And I think one of the problems is getting the word out so people even know that this meeting is taking place. LinkedIn, not ideal. So we have some initiative focus on escaping LinkedIn. What else? Oh, yeah. So we need at least one person other than me. I usually host the office hours. We need more than at least one person, total of 2 at least, to join in, right? So the requirements, you're interested in participating in the board of directors as a director of our little foundation with big ideas. So you might be interested in participating. First, the basic requirements or perhaps expectations in our current environment. So none of these are like, well, I won't say none, but a good culture fit is probably the most important thing. You kind of have to be on the same page as like, well, let's get started. This is an all-volunteer organization. There is no compensation for directors, leadership, or members of the cohort in general. This is not to say there is not, or there are not, opportunities that may come from participating in some way, mostly non-financial as part of the foundation itself, but still possible. Put a pin in that one for later when we talk about the business model of what we're trying to accomplish and how there could be other benefits outside of the foundation. So our need for directors local to the greater Vegas area comes down to outreach and engagement within the city, within the county, to other cities within the county and in the non-incorporated parts of the county, and even the state government, the Governor's Office of Economic Development, for example, they kind of drive this stuff. The public school district, Clark County School District, private schools and their organizations, local business, agencies, and other entities like LVCVA, LVGEA, so many more. Local press, which is a challenge in itself. And of course, the people who live in the Oasis are Vegas locals. No, not all at the same time. This is not about, I need to contact every one of those 2.4 million people. No, not at all. It's not a full-time endeavor, obviously, but to be around, to come into contact, to tell the story at an in-person gathering, perhaps, and so on. These are important. So some energy to put into like, hey, this is a cool idea, and it would be useful if more people knew about it. And if you happen to know a bunch of people and you are in the greater Vegas area, you can actually help get that word out with something other than LinkedIn. We are a Nevada nonprofit corporation. Familiarity with the nonprofit environment, the landscape, if you will, in Southern Nevada, at least for the purposes of networking and collaboration and some other things, if there are other things, is probably even more important than those other connections and activities, which you'll develop if you don't already have such connections. The nonprofit terrain in Nevada it's got a lot of people and a lot of nonprofit corporations within it. I think it's probably, it would be some effort to meet everyone, but it's a place that I think needs more attention in general. And I think there are some opportunities to collaborate on methodology and sharing information and helping get the word out about that information to the public at large and so on and so on. I will propose that the nonprofit environment may draw the other facets of the Oasis in for discussion. So if we're already working with more nonprofits on collaboration and communication and so on, there is I believe, a stronger possibility that we'll get connection with more of the school districts and more of the government folks, the staffers, economic development, people that are in the innovation space, the UNLV folks, the College of Southern Nevada folks, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, nonprofit goals are not necessarily built on product and ship dates and whatnot. Our plans are longer term, so that mindset needs to be a part of participating. We are a 501c3 public charity, and while we do intend to conduct donation drive activities, we have only very passively reached out for donations to date. And as I mentioned, the previous fiscal year, we didn't do any real outreach. We have a donate button on our website, but we haven't been proactively engaging the general populace concerning donations. Our total donations to date are something probably around $500. So we aren't out there pounding the pavement looking for money. We only have, our financial requirements happen to be nearly zero so far. Basically filing fees, $50. That was a $50 plus a $50 incorporation fee up front. Back in the day, our filing fees with the IRS, 1023EZ, and our domain, and our annual list filed by June 30th is $50. And then our domain name purchases, we have a few domains around some of our initiatives. So that's probably the most expensive line items that we have. Our assets are domain names at this time. I cannot think of other expenses off the top of my head other than filing fees and domains. I'm trying to think, and we don't pay for hosting yet, and we don't pay for physical resources. We don't have an office. Thank you, City of Las Vegas, for changing that situation. So donation drives are on the table as we get some of the other initiatives moving. There may be a need for online resources, physical resources, maybe even printed materials or something. Who knows? That's the stuff to talk about. We do enjoy a variety of gratis services for our nonprofit charity. GitHub, for example, offers a gratis team tier service for nonprofits. We use GitHub as a sort of a synchronization platform. Even if you're not coding, we can still use it for program management and for giving credit to people for their participation. More on that in a moment. Google for Nonprofits offers gratis workspace for 501c3 organizations only, not other nonprofits. So yes, I have asked them why they use Google for Nonprofits when it's actually Google for 501c3s. It's not universally true. They're two separate things. Nonprofit, by the way, is a state designation. 501A organizations are IRS, follow the IRS rules, 501A. So a 501c3 is an IRS designation, and nonprofit is a state designation. You are not automatically one because you are the other, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't hear back from Google on that one. There are a few other gratis services we enjoy, like Canva, heavy reliance on open source and applications and tools and so on, and a Spartan set of needs. We don't really need much at this time. That could change. It does keep the expenses down towards zero, though, which is convenient. Our policy currently is to be an any age-friendly organization, which means we do not support 18 plus and certainly not 21 plus focus. This is a thing here in Vegas. Let's celebrate local tech leaders, 21 and over. You're missing the point that the future is not always, you do not need to be 21 and over to be innovative, etc. This is where educator and mentor outreach is important, and so those school and district connections could be helpful. In order to keep everyone safe and aware, we always ask that parents or guardians be included in online and in-person activities, at the very least aware, but participation becomes more and more important, if I can speak, as the age becomes lower, the number of years, right? So 18, yay, you're an adult, you can participate all you want. 17, kind of let the parents know, and parents and guardians are always invited to participate, and they're encouraged because the more the merrier, as always. But the closer you get to really young, the more we really want to have parent involvement. And again, keep everybody safe, and also have parents be aware, parents and guardians, where their young people are spending their time and who they're spending it with. This is also true of the Smarter Smart City Challenge, by the way. We're trying to encourage any age participation, which means young people. We are not proactively reaching out to students, though, which we generally don't do. Even we used to have a Discord server. I was not necessarily comfortable with having direct messages, perhaps, with young people, because that's just a bad habit. I think it sets a bad tone if we have these private conversations. I think adults and young people should be collaborating in public, highly visible, and so on. If you have questions or comments or concerns, join our board and let's make that work even better. So we can reach out to their teachers and school principals so that they can engage their classrooms and curriculum in that context of the challenge. So yeah, we are absolutely pro young people becoming or tackling their innovation bent. If they have ideas, doesn't have to be code, could be anything, but they should be enabled and encouraged to pursue them, to develop those ideas, turn them into something tangible that we can try out in the world. But we do want to do it safely and with full awareness and participation, ideally, by parents, guardians, teachers, mentors. It takes a village. Yeah, so we encourage that. Now, let's talk about you. Familiarity with nonprofit charities in general, with the volunteer caveat. No compensation. We're not, there's no paychecks, no financial reward. It comes in other forms. It's nice to have that familiarity, but since we are an organization built on learning and developing knowledge and human interaction skills, among other things, this familiarity is not a hard requirement. We are a small organization at present. We are not looking for big donations and huge programs yet. So having that experience in your wheelhouse is not a requirement per se. Familiarity would be nice, but also not required. Do you have the time? Probably. Experience has shown that for our organization that monthly online meetings are just too much. More likely a quarterly board meeting of around an hour, maybe two, and our annual meeting at the end of the fiscal year in June, or maybe the beginning of the new fiscal year in July, are the goal. If we have it in July, we can have our new board members seated and so on, and we can kick off the year with all of that implied. All of that is implied. But if we do it at the end of the year, then hopefully there are board members that are ready to be submitted in our annual list filing. So this is obviously up for discussion, all of this with our new board members, but think 4 to 8 hours total for the quarterly board meeting setup. So through the year, 4 to 8 hours ish, and the annual meeting maybe up to 2 hours on top of all that. And then plus any time you spend out in the world, telling the story, talking to people, talking to school and teacher and other businesses, just in your travels, so any extra time would be time that you feel would be valuable to the pursuits. A tri-annual meetup, sort of like a trimester, but triannual, 3 times a year, augmented with ad hoc meetings as needed, might be another way. The one annual meeting is something of a requirement. You have to have at least one meeting per year. So treating that as, the one meeting that must be attended and so on is something of a requirement. Our meetings, by the way, have always been online. Any in-person activities are in person, but by having them online, we can offer maximum flexibility for all of the board members and anyone else who would like to participate and sit in. Our board members have always been open to the public, unless there's business to attend to that doesn't fit into that. Then we would adjourn the meeting and have a private session for particular items. But generally speaking, we like to be open and transparent and invite people to participate in general. Okay, a little pause there. This might be a good time to restate our purpose. You heard it at the top of the show: to enable and encourage ideation, innovation, and implementation to make our communities better. Ideally, this resonates with you in some way, and do note that we explicitly left our purpose vague without focus on code or tech. The 3 I's, ideation, innovation, and implementation, can take any form and anyone can engage these. There is no out-group per se. If you find community elevation to be appealing, what we focus on is not product development or profit, obviously, but initiative developments towards our purpose to elevate communities, which means we direct our efforts inward first. Put a pin in that also. So put a pin in the business model, put a pin in the what we're trying to accomplish and develop. Do you need to be technically inclined? Are you expected to participate hands-on in initiatives, development sprints, and so on? No and no. You are more than welcome to participate in the activities of the foundation. And remember, not everything is code. So even that storytelling bent is a part of the getting the word out process. Say about the Challengers Initiative or the Talks Initiative or our Open Transit Initiative and so on. Just telling people about these things is a part of some form of participation. But if you actually want to participate in any part of the development of the component projects of each of these or others, we have a few, great. You are absolutely invited, but not expected. We do have the 2 websites, though, because the foundation is a nonprofit corporation. That is where the board of directors focuses their energies and participation. So some of those things are sort of required with a soft R. Like, you're part of a corporation. You're part of an actual business entity. There are adult responsibilities. You got to be 18 plus. I didn't set that rule, but that's the way it is. But we are also pursuing our initiatives. That's where the .org version lives, and you can definitely jump in there when you're interested, or if you're interested, where you are interested in doing so. So the more the merrier. Now about those pins I mentioned. That first pin, the business model of our initiative developments, I always say in this context, I don't want you to work for free, but I do want you to be willing to work for free. In other words, we are a volunteer organization. We develop open source everything. So we're pretty much transparent. We're not developing proprietary closed source products, services. This applies to software, documentation, physical objects. There are open source licenses for open hardware, for example. That's usually tech hardware, but everything we do should be usable by others in other places. That's part of the learning and innovator process. But what we accomplish should be to offer a return on investment. That doesn't sound right. What we accomplish should offer a return on investment of some kind for the time, effort, and expertise contributed by volunteers. That might include you, but generally speaking, all of the cohort participants should get something out of it through their participation. It's sort of an internal property. We are 100% attribution positive. That was not always true of Code for America, for example, and some organizations will say, oh, only coders get credit. Not the case. All contributors, all contributions that are included in the actual thing, the component project or the initiative on the whole, receive attribution. What this means is that sometimes a contribution doesn't work and is not included, but the contributor showed up and did something, so they get credit. So they might have been a contributor, but examples of their work are not necessarily completely visible in a particular project. So, but you showed up, you participated. There are other initiatives at some point, so it's very clear though, we want everybody who puts the time, effort, and expertise towards what we're trying to accomplish to be able to point and say, I worked on that, and there's my name. I always tell people you can type about : credits in your Firefox browser and you will find my name in there because I did work at Netscape, and there I am. There's my name. You can no longer find my contributions because everything I worked on is it's an ancient history, but I'm still in there. Similar idea. Everything that people work on, all their contributions, all their time, effort, and expertise are all probably, they're probably good for the old resume, probably good for the CV if you want to expand into that life story. And the personal experience, of course, of participating with your colleagues in a cohort and trying to accomplish good things. This leads us to that second pin. It's sort of similar to the first pin, actually. The business plan of the foundation, or rather the initiatives we spin out from the foundation, is similar to other open source companies out there today. We can pursue open source development of community elevating initiatives with volunteer effort. Not everything is software, so keep that in mind. But anybody who's contributing, they get their name on it, right? And if we get traction in public, if we actually build things that are functional and useful and offer value and bring an audience, bring customers perhaps, any particular initiative can spin off into a little startup. First refusal to participate in that startup goes to those who made that happen, the contributors who are receiving their attribution as a matter of policy of our organization. So if you are part of making something happen, you are part of its success if it spins out and continues to evolve in a more commercial or for-profit direction. Our initiatives are varied thus far. Some might benefit as charity donation drivers, so they would stay more of like fundraising tools, t-shirts and stickers. And also a platform that we've developed to do a certain thing to help our communities and elevate them. Others as monetizable platform spin-offs. Our Welcome and My Muni initiatives fit in that model. And maybe one or two might be actual vendor agreement platforms where we continue development and support as an external entity. These are businesses to work with. We build a business to provide continuing development and support as a vendor to an agency or another company, for example. All of these have been discussed in our travels. That last one sounds complicated, but just think open transit. And again, not particularly new ideas. Nothing I've suggested here in this pin follow-up is going to surprise anyone. Oh, okay, you deploy open source projects as monetizable pursuits with support, continuing development, custom development, et cetera, which means we can look at working examples out in the world, right? So nobody's going to be able to say, what? No one's ever, this has been done many times. So we're not proposing anything too outlandish, but we do have a path to recognizing the contributions that people have made to community elevation, indirectly from within and directly by spinning off our initiatives. Keep this in mind. We can develop our initiatives for 2.4 million people in Clark County, the greater Vegas area, but we can also share our work with the 38 to 41 million people, give or take, visiting greater Vegas each year. Those are recent numbers. It's 38.2 million, I think, for 2025. Those people visit what could be a smarter smart city, for example, then return home and perhaps recall the difference between Vegas and their own hometown and what comes after that. This is why our initiatives are not necessarily only Vegas, but Vegas is an interesting place for co-creation. This is also why we reach out to other organizations around the country in case they want to collaborate on anything. We can try out ideas here where a lot of people visit. We can try them out there, wherever people are collaborating with us. We can try out with visitors, anywhere, right? So we're not Vegas only in our pursuits. So the challenges, we do have challenges. Now the bad news. The hill is steep. The greater Vegas area is something of a challenge when it comes to inviting volunteers to participate in something that is not immediately obvious. Even though the Innovate for Vegas Foundation is the reboot of the Code for Vegas organization from a decade or so ago, I think it was like 11 or 12. It might have formed before I arrived in Vegas 13 years ago. But I think it was around until about a decade ago. That's fine. It is a foreign notion to many here in Greater Vegas that, I have to volunteer my time for something? This can lead to the dreaded question, which I've grown to loathe. Is there free food? And even worse, when people who kick the tires, they think, what's in it for me? And then they are not satisfied and they just never return. That has been the general interaction, the formula of engagement for people in Greater Vegas. We need a culture of innovation, and though some may say that we have one, and I'm not arguing, I will suggest that we can do better. Note, innovation takes many forms. I am not saying we need to be the next Silicon Valley at all. I don't believe we will be, but we can be a better Vegas, and that includes enabling and encouraging more people to turn their ideas into action. And those ideas can take many forms. And by starting with the problems you see around you, the problems, the gaps, the challenges, the opportunities, and then empowering people to take action in some way to see them turn into reality. Look at that. We fixed that one problem. And we made this better. We helped some people accomplish something more easily, and so on. Those all start to add up. Engagement with local press, local government, and local educators is a real challenge. It's a challenge for more than one person, to be honest. This is unfortunate, but it is possibly related to that innovation culture. I can go on and on about this, comparing Greater Vegas to Silicon Valley from the 90s, which is where I started my career. But I worked in Silicon Valley itself. My first job with a company that you would recognize was at Apple Computer. But the bottom line, proaction is perhaps the only way to get over this obstacle if Greater Vegas is to be a place where innovation can take place at any level, on any front, and of course by people of any age. Be a part of driving that evolution, and it is a challenge. Given post-Code for America Brigade terrain for civic volunteers, that is, they sunset that program, leaving existing brigades kind of on their own, we never rejoined Code for America as the Code for Vegas Foundation, which we renamed to the Innovate for Vegas Foundation. So we have rebooted and have been a standalone organization without any dependency on Code for America. Okay. Our Project ACT initiative, the Autonomous Cohort Tessellation, aims to establish a discovery platform to enable and encourage connection, communication, and collaboration. Who doesn't like some consonants now and then? It's specifically aimed at the smaller numbers of active participants we can learn about by engaging other organizations around the country, which I already said. I do that. I have done that. It's the only way to figure out what's going on is to talk to people and to not rely on a central top-down entity to connect people. So sometimes you have to put technology to work and then enable that with human interaction, some humanity. Our board can and should include people from other places who are interested in the way we are tackling these challenges right here in Vegas. And we have had that. So that's where my assertion is that we kind of need both. So that's where I suggest that we need 3 people who are local to the greater Vegas area who have interests in pursuing what we are trying to accomplish, but also 1 or 2 people from elsewhere. We have had board members from outside of Vegas, people who were involved with Code for America brigades in other cities, or who were more closely involved with Code for America. We had the former founder of Code for Vegas, the original, as a board member for our first year to help us get up and running. He did not and does not live in the greater Vegas area any longer, so he was also remote but more closely connected. And our most recent board members were not located in Vegas and departed last year to pursue some educational tools software platform. So they didn't have any direct connection to Vegas, and so they departed. And unfortunately, it was the end of May, which left the clock ticking for 30 days. So not much time to add some board members. And so the pursuit of refilling our board and putting in, finding some people, not putting in people, locating people whose interests and vision might be aligned, who can bring some new ideas and pursue this general concept of civic volunteerism for community elevation is something worth spending the time on. And so here we are. So if you are interested in any of this, don't forget we do have office hours every week. As I'm speaking right now, they're on Tuesdays, but you can visit the innovateforvegas.org website for our calendar. The .foundation, the innovateforvegas.foundation website should also, I think I need to update the calendar that is displayed so that they are the same calendar. For the time being, they are the same calendar. Ideally, our foundation would have board meeting and annual meeting and other such office hours. These are really oriented towards the business side of developing something like this here or elsewhere. Our .org website should be focused on our sprint meetups and hackathons and other initiatives and activities and everything that aligns with those. So all of this is an administrative work in progress. I have all the hats right now. Some people might think I have a big head, but it's not that big. So if any of this, again, is interesting, don't forget you can visit our office hours every Tuesday or whenever the calendar suggests. All we ask is that you RSVP so we know you're planning on participating. That's where I'm going to leave it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for sharing this notion with others. Maybe I'm not speaking to you, but someone you might know. Point them towards either this audio program or to our website or to our office hours meetup. And we'll see what happens. We have big, giant plans. I can only do so much. There's only 24 hours in a day, and then at night I got to catch up on some other things. So that's where I'll leave it. Take care now. Until next week, or until I see you at one of our office hours meetings. Cheers.